Okay, I hate confrontation with every single being in my soul, so I think I can help with this one. I think it's quite important that even if you're not a confrontational person, you're still able to set your own boundaries, okay? I am the world's biggest people pleaser. It's something I'm really trying to work on because I have this crippling need to be liked by people, and when I'm not, God, it keeps me up at night. So let's talk about how to end a friendship or a relationship or situationship, whatever you want to do, without feeling like the bad guy. So it doesn't have to be like it is in the movies. It doesn't have to be this big dramatic showdown. It doesn't. It can be really quiet and calm and concise. The most important thing is that we treat everybody with kindness. Everybody with kindness. There are a couple of situations where you can add a little jab. If someone's cheated on you, you can add a little jab. But on the whole, you want to be treating everyone with kindness because you come across so much better and you'll feel better about the situation after it. If you say things that you don't mean, or you say nasty things, or you say things that are below the belt, you're going to look back on that and go, I feel guilty. Whereas when that time eventually comes that you do feel guilty, because you will, because you're a people pleaser, when that time eventually comes where you do feel guilty for setting that boundary, you can look back and go, no, I treated them with respect, I treated myself with respect, and I was kind. I couldn't have done that better. So let's treat everyone with kindness first. Second, it depends what kind of friendship or relationship you are ending, okay? So if it is a friendship that, for example, you're not the closest, you see them once or twice a year, you meet up for a coffee, and it doesn't need addressing, you can just sort of let that softly fade, I would say, and just not make plans for a coffee, or just say, I'm busy, I'll have to get back to you, and don't. It's not my favourite, okay? Because I feel like you'll get more questions and people coming back to you being like, you're right, you're being funny, and just more, yeah, I'm fine, oh, it's fine, no, you've done everything fine, and it just stresses you out, okay? So I feel like unless there are situations where that works, okay, and you don't always have to address it. If you live 100 miles away and you were friends from school and it's like not realistic that you can stay friends, and they weren't a great friend anyway, you can sort of say, oh gosh, so busy, and then if you see them it's not awkward because you never really ended it, you know. That's fine. It's not my favourite because it opens a can of worms, I think. Second is a kind but a firm message. That's short, okay? You don't need to explain all of your reasons. You don't need to explain everything. It just doesn't need to happen. And I also think you can send a text message if you want. However, bonus points, a voice note. Now let me walk you through what I mean by this. Text messages, as the person receiving the text message, you could have meant it in the kindest way possible. If someone's on the defense, they're gonna read it as no. They're just gonna, because you've hurt their ego, you've offended them because you said that you don't want to be their friend anymore. They're gonna take it badly. So I think a text message can sometimes, and because you're wanting it to be short and concise and not waffly, it can sometimes be a bit harsh and blunt to receive. However, a voice note, I think, give yourself like points, like make points, because otherwise I always go into it going and then forgetting what I wanted to say. I can't deal with a phone call because I know that I get caught off guard. And if someone said to me like, well, I didn't mean that, I'll be like, okay, they said they didn't mean it. And then I'll end that phone call, think back about the conversation, and I'll be like, I'm actually really annoyed. I didn't address any of the points that I wanted to. I was people pleasing the whole way through, and I'm still annoyed in my head that they think that we're okay. So I think a voice note is a really happy medium between being clear, because you can use your voice. You can say things that you want to get your point across while sounding kind. And I think the best way to do that is by using your own voice rather than a text or an email. Emails are good for certain situations. That's a whole nother video, okay? We can talk about that. But I think a voice note is sometimes better than a text, but not as intimidating as a phone call. As someone who has crippling people pleasing and hating confrontation and not wanting to be shouted at on the phone, a voice note is a great way for you to send, for them to hear your side of it with the kindness in your voice and get your point across without sounding blunt and harsh on a text. Or if this person has been god awful to you and you don't think that they need an explanation or any kindness, short and sweet. Hi, I've reflected on your actions. I don't wish to be treated like this. I wish you well. Be gone. Be gone with you, okay? That applies to cheating, if a best friend got with an ex, if those sort of ones where it's like, I don't even need to address what you've done, you know it's bad, off. Be gone. I wish you well. In hell, you know? So that's that situation. If you hate confrontation as well, you're going to inevitably feel the guilt in a couple of months, okay? Because you're like, oh, I didn't do confrontation, I was really mean, I said some things, or that was really harsh, or what if they were going through something, what if, and you start making excuses. It's okay, take a deep breath, remember why you said it. Again, in my previous video, I said, make a list of your notes. These are the reasons that I'm not talking to them anymore. Reread those. Don't let yourself look back in rose-tinted glasses, and don't let yourself say no to the boundaries that you want to set for yourself, okay? If you're gonna send a message, or you're gonna send a voice note, or you're gonna have a phone call, message, keep it short, sweet. More like longer, waffly, invites more questions, more ways of having an argument. If you're gonna have a voice note, keep it under a few minutes. I sent one that was 7 minutes once because I got upset, okay? It's hard. It's hard to do as a people pleaser. However, send the voice note, say what you want to say, explain everything so that it doesn't open up questions. Well, what do you mean? I feel like this because of this. So that no one has any questions, no one knows what's confusing. And if you're having a phone call, set a timer, or get your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, mum, sister, cousin, brother, whoever, the person that isn't on the end of the phone, to say, I'm gonna go and have this phone call. You come in 10 minutes and say I'm needed, so that you can get all your points across and say, hi, I've only got 10 minutes to talk about this, I've got a really busy day, and if that's something that you want to end it. If it's something that you think can be mended, you've got 10 minutes, you leave that phone call. I would always say, at the end of the phone call, say, I'm gonna go away and think about this. Thank you for talking to me, but I need to know how I feel about this once I've sat on it. Never make a decision on a phone call because you can feel very pressured. And then that person goes away thinking everything's fine, and actually you're still stewing because it's not fine and you're still pissed off with them, you know? No matter how angry they are, I learnt this in therapy, no matter how angry they are, their reaction is their responsibility. If you've been kind and set a boundary and you've been respectful, if they are nasty, if they are mean, if they are anything, that's on them. That has got nothing to do with you. Every adult is responsible for their own behaviour, okay? Don't let anyone make you feel bad about having a boundary for yourself. If you are completely adamant that that friendship is over, once you have made that decision and had that conversation, this is probably more for romantic relationships, because I don't think necessarily it might be needed for friendships. But if you are worried that you are going to message them and this person has brought such detriment to your life that you have been really upset, just block them or mute them. Get rid. Don't allow yourself an easy access to them, because your mental health is so much more important than reaching out because you still want to know that that connection's there. Humans can be toxic to themselves, okay? And you need to give yourself every possible outcome and every possible chance at being able to move on and be happy from that friendship, relationship, situationship, whatever it is, okay? Put yourself first. Don't let anyone else put you down. Okay? You go, girl.